The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast do not necessarily reflect or represent the views and opinions of WBGR Network. Any questions or concerns about what is said should be directed to the show host, whose information will be provided upon request.
My brothers keep a show, I gotta let them know. Tuesday, 7 p.m., gotta let them know. 3 M's meant to model, gotta multiply. God gets all the glory, hands in the sky. My brothers keep a show, I gotta let them know. Tuesday, 7 p.m., gotta let them know. 3 M's meant to model, gotta multiply. God gets all the glory, hands in the sky. My brothers keep a show. Introduce the host. My brothers keep a show. Introduce the host. That's the Dr. Michael Green.
What's up, everybody? I'm here at Bowie State University, representing for WBGR. We're here to see if some of these college students know their breakfast trivia. Do you know your cereal? So I'm here in the student center with a couple of students. How y'all feeling? Good. So I want to test y'all knowledge on breakfast trivia. Y'all ready? Yeah. All right, so the first one is finish the slogan. I'm cuckoo for
Cocoa Puffs.
All right, silly rabbit.
Tricks of the kids.
2 scoops of. 2 scoops of.
Cornflakes.
Comes in a purple box. Sunshine on it.
Raisin bread.
They're magically delicious.
Wait,
Lucky Charms.
Lucky Charms.
All right. Snap, crackle, pop.
Rice Krispies.
Yep. Kid tested, mother approved.
Oh, I don't know. Not a mom.
Whose mascot is a tiger?
Flakes. No. Yes. What you saying?
Mascot is a toucan bird. Whose mascot is Fred Flintstone?
Fruity Pebbles.
The taste you can see.
Taste you can see.
No one sounds familiar.
The taste you can see.
The taste you can see.
Oh, that's what is that?
Oh, you phoning a friend? Here you got a phone. Which one of these cartoons was not made into a cereal? You got 3 choices. A, Donkey Kong. B, Pokemon. C, SpongeBob. SpongeBob. Trick question, they all were. Oh wow.
What?
I never seen no SpongeBob cereal. Kid tested, mother approved.
Checks. No. Kicks.
Yup, you got it. Some of these college students definitely know their trivia. It was fun interviewing them to see what their knowledge was. Hopefully next time we can get a couple of more students at some other schools and test their knowledge. Do you know your cereals?
Don't worry, the TV's not on yet. Yeah, it is. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the greatest show on this side of greatness. Of course, it is My Brother's Keeper, where it is a terrific Tuesday. It is terrific Tony the Tiger. I'm sorry, I'm getting those T's twisted myself. A tongue-twisting Tuesday. Tony the Tiger, terrific Tuesday, and it's great. Welcome, guys. Thank you for allowing us to come into your homes. And again, sitting alongside me this week, ladies and gentlemen, is Dr. Brian Champion, because I think he's going to go to another undisclosed location here in a few weeks. I'll be away next week, but you make it sound like I haven't been here for 8 in a row. So come on, give me some props.
Man, you get it, Doc. You get it off the top, off the rip. You got it. You got it. Hey, guys, we'd like to welcome Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas, San Antonio, Texas, and also our prayers go out to the families in Dallas that was affected by the tornado. Definitely continuing to keep you guys lifted in prayer. Also, Raleigh, Durham, North Carolina, as well as Winston-Salem, North Carolina. New Jersey, Maryland, Washington, D.C., and Virginia area. Definitely in the house. Whoop, whoop, whoop. not DMV, but Washington, the district, and Maryland in the house. Okay, we're going to travel all the way across to the West Coast, and we're going to thank Pomona, California, as well as Ontario, California, where the Bishop Jelani Kafela is with the Imani Christian Cathedral Church. Thank you for your support. And all the way back on the East Coast, we like to thank Bishop James Bernard Walker, the presiding prelate of the Christian Methodist Episcopal Church. Again, thank you so much for your support. Again, the call-in number is 301-429-9247, 301-429-WBGR. Also, remember that you can watch us on Roku. Every television that's being manufactured today comes through with Roku. Also, download the WBGR app on Fire Stick as well as Apple TV. And definitely, we encourage you to go to www.mybrotherskeeper.org after or even before the show and check out the community news you can use around in the area. Okay, remember, like and share. Like and share. Can I say that one more again? Like and share.
And if you didn't get it, share and like.
Already did.
Somebody ought to tell the Lord, thank you. Amen. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. But as always, we promise to give you that Black History fact. And now I introduce to you Dr. Brian Champion.
Amen. Oh, thank you. And if you don't mind, just before I go into Black History fact, you and I were talking about this gentleman earlier today, and I just want to acknowledge him. Brother Ron Chase,
yes,
a member of the St. John CME Church, transitioned to be with the Lord this past week. A man who both Dr. Green and I found as a mentor, someone who was very active in the ministry to men at the local church and throughout our CME conference, and also was the district lay leader. So we just want to, say that rest in peace, and also that we are in prayer and blessings to the family of Brother Chase and for the legacy that he has made in our lives. So just kind of wanted to acknowledge that before moving in to our Black History person of interest.
Yes, Brother Ron Chase, I have fond memories, even as a young man, as early as 11 to 15 to 17. He's
back
been
in the 40s.
When you two grew up and you guys mentored me,
right.
And I was ever so thankful for his presence. And wherever we would go, I mean, from leadership conferences to annual conference, he was always there. And he had a silent presence, but his presence was felt.
Oh,
because that manhood, it meant something. And he showed up. And definitely he will be missed. And that's the kind of legacy that he's leaving behind. And if I could leave that type of legacy of a man standing, taking care of his family, being there in the ministry and a leader.
That's what we need.
And he was always around and being there. And my prayers go out to his daughters.
Oh, yeah.
And he raised twins and two daughters and a set of twins. All of them are girls. And so that's a whole lot. And his oldest daughter had triplets.
Right. And they were girls too, weren't they?
And they were girls too.
Yeah.
So definitely, I saw that I was not headed for boy, so I stopped at 4. Single. They're stairs, but single. Last one at Morgan, I'm good. I'm topped out.
Amen.
You're good.
Yeah.
I'm topped out.
You're done. Okay.
Hallelujah. Thank you, Jesus.
I can relate.
Man, it's a roller coaster, man.
I can relate. I stopped with the one girl. So,
That was enough for you?
Yeah.
That's why your hair's gray?
No. It's the second year of my brother's keeper.
Okay, y'all.
All righty then. Hey, brother Keith Tibbs, thank you so much for tuning in. Patricia Denise, hey guys, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Please, again, like and share. Okay, back to you, Brian.
So as we often do, our Black History or African American person of interest, again, as and we acknowledge on a sorrow note today that the passing of Elijah Eugene Cummings, a great American who was, a leader in our community, a civil rights advocate. So, he held a lot of other titles in his life for positions that he held, but none greater than the fact that he was a champion and a hero fighting the causes of people of color and for equality in our nation. So we just want to look at him and recognize this giant that we lost. And, again, we know him as the U.S. Congressman from Maryland, 7th District. Elected in 1996. His congressional district represented the city of Baltimore, most of Baltimore County, and most of Howard County. And so these were significantly diverse areas, as we know that Maryland has pockets of diversity and not totally all over the state. And so he was one looking after those areas. He recently became the chair of the House Oversight Committee, and that's a prominent role because, again, they is considered a person with significant influence would actually sit on that House committee, which he had been a member for a while, but then recently served as the chair of that committee. Prior to going into Congress, he was also a Maryland House of part of the Maryland House of Delegates from 1983 to 1996. So we see a career politician. Born in Baltimore, Maryland, one of 7 children. At the age of 11, Cummings and several friends led an effort to segregate a swimming pool in South Baltimore. So he was fighting for equality and civil rights at an early age. We know that he was highly educated and he did well for himself with knowledge as he finished the Baltimore City Public Schools, but then matriculated at the Howard University, where he had a degree in political science, where he was the sophomore class president and then later the student government president. Upon completing Howard, he went on to University of Maryland Law School, and after that he practiced law for 7 years before moving into his actual professional career as a politician. We just want to acknowledge him today, again, for all that he's done. He's going to be missed. Not just Marylanders or not just his congressional district, because we saw him advocating for people all over the country. And one of the things that we have to be sure of as we look and we talk about getting out to vote and those things, when it's time for that seat to be filled, we need to ensure that someone is going to fill that seat who holds to the values of Elijah Cummings, someone who's going to be that advocate as Elijah Cummings was. And so we need that champion to continue to lead us throughout the community. So today, African American history person of interest is Elijah Eugene Cummings.
Amen. 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 And also, I do believe that his wife, Maya, is going to seek election or run for his seat.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
And she's more than qualified because some of the things that I was reading about her, and stellar. One of the things he did, I think it was one of the last times that he had an opportunity to address Congress. He really spoke about voting rights and the importance of voting rights. And it just resonated in my spirit that he was telling the story about his elder mother, 90 plus years of age. And she said to him, "Don't let them take our voting rights." And that just resonated in my spirit because, again, from 18 to 80, I mean, it's like we have to really get out there and turn out our vote, because our vote is our voice. And if we're not heard, we're just going to be sitting back and allowing others to speak for us.
Absolutely. I mean, and Nick Charles talked about this in another show that I heard him speak about in Maryland in particular, there are the super voters, and how important it is to vote whether your candidate wins or loses, because they use the marketing material from the voters to determine which populations to really emphasize and cater to. So if we're not voting, there's no reason to take a poll of us. They don't think our concerns matter because obviously we're not voting. They are going to try to appease those that are known voters. So we have to get out and vote. And as we move into 2020, this is going to be a very significant year. And we're going to call it the Get Out to Vote year. I mean, Get Out to Be Counted year, because not only do we have the election in November of 2020, but we also have the census in April of next year as well. And those are very significant times because, again, that's how our congressional districts are formed, and that's how we determine how many votes areas get and so forth. So we just really need to make sure that we're in tune with doing right by our communities by getting out to be counted.
Yes, and let me share this. It doesn't matter if you have a warrant or not. We need to be counted during this Census Bureau as they take in numbers. So I know that a lot of the illegal aliens, they cannot be touched during this time of counting. So definitely I encourage everyone to, when they come, just be counted, because that trickles down to how much money our communities get. Exactly. So, and the resources that we have to use. So I encourage others to just come out your house and be counted, as well as go vote.
November 5th, we will have a show on the importance of the election or voting and the Census Bureau with Dr. Kent Roberson with the PG County Board of Elections.
Okay.
So November 5th, tune in for more.
Okay. That's wonderful.
Early voting day.
Thank you, Ms. Session. You're always on point. See, this is why Dr. Champion need you here. Hey guys, this is domestic violence and physical. This is Domestic Violence Month, Awareness Month, and I wanted to share that with everyone, that this is a time that we come and we collectively come together, share our stories, not so much to talk about our problems, but to empower one another of making it known, so that we are aware and of the signs of physical abuse, verbal abuse, or even emotional abuse. So again, this is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, October. Dr. Champion?
Yes, sir. Yeah, and as we talk about,
be ye always ready.
Yeah, as we talk about domestic violence, is one of the several awareness campaigns that are going on this month, along with Breast Cancer Awareness Month and Emotional Intelligence Awareness Month. All of these become, days that we want to outline. And today we're going to talk about domestic violence awareness in just a way of talking about it in a definition. Because a lot of times people kind of consider domestic violence as the physical assault, battery, sexual assault. However, that domestic violence has a much broader term, and it's that part that emotional, psychological abuse as well as the physical abuse. And oftentimes people feel like, as long as you're not laying your hands on me, then you're all right. But what we have to also recognize is that no, we can abuse people. We can make them not feel good about themselves. We can take advantage of and be controlling, and that's equally as abusive, because it prevents them from growing and developing and being comfortable about who they are and whose they are. I mean, I think that's important too. So, and today, let me just say, we're very fortunate today to have two individuals here to share with us, individuals that are not strangers to my brother's keeper, as you have seen them both before. And if you're kind of wondering why Dr. Green is just giggling and grinning today, it's because I'm not sitting next to him, but he's sitting in between two wonderful, wonderful guests in the name of Tanya Hood and also Sister France Neptune. And again, they're coming off what I believe was a powerful weekend in which they pulled together a day and a retreat for individuals called A Time of Healing, Redeemed from the Past. So we're going to hear a little bit about that because, just by the title, I get excited because I know one of the things that I recognize sometimes is that I'm broken. That I'm hurt and everything, but I try to cover it up, or I try to run from it, or I try to just move on. But sometimes, do I actually give myself the time to heal? Do I actually allow myself that moment? As a man, am I supposed to go through that time to heal, or am I just supposed to come across as being strong? And am I supposed to come across as already? You see, healing, first of all, means that something had to be wrong.
Exactly.
And so sometimes we won't acknowledge that something was wrong. So we don't even want to start into this healing piece. And this year, my brother's keeper has been using the theme of healthy, whole, and healed. And so we recognize that there's a process. So we're just delighted to have the two of you all with us today to also come in and talk about, y'all got some new books out and resources.
Well, Dr. Champion, if I may 1 second, I like to thank both of them from coming off of the mountaintop to shine the light.
Amen.
So definitely this is a time of healing because even as October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, let the healing begin. Amen. So we're coming from so many places, and I'm just happy to have the ladies here to give their perspective, and definitely everyone else can definitely call in. The call-in number is 301-429-9247. Overseer LaTanya Michelle, thank you for watching. Sister Leslie Cash Tips, thank you for checking in this evening. Sister Patricia Denise, thank you. Yeah, Dr. Champion does sound like he's ready to go in, doesn't he? Okay, that was the comment. So,
well, before we get started, we would like to say thank you for using your platform as a way for us to talk about this very, very important topic. So thank you, because I don't really see too many men talking about
And I was sitting here and like, yes.
Yes, see, me and you, see that? Yeah, see. But yeah, so thank you, gentlemen.
Dr. Champion, he's over there holding his lollipop.
No. I thought you were about to say something.
No, I was.
But no, it is very interesting. As you say that, I remember when you first came onto the show and you were sharing, from your book and about the authentic leader and about being yourself, and as I listened to it, I thought about Sister Tanya here and her writings on Red Alert, and I was like, wow, they're like, they have the same spirit, and then when I saw this where the two of you all were together with A Time of Healing, I was like, all right, God has put something together here.
Yes,
so
indeed.
Let's first of all, let's talk about it. The theme, A Time of Healing, Redeem. What brought that out of you all to be willing to share?
So I wanted to add something to share.
I'm sorry.
I'm really grateful that you are sharing in the male perspective, because too many men hold that in.
Yes.
And because there are broken men, we don't have the heads and the leaders of our household to help us women be able to be strong and get what we need.
Yes.
And so young girls walk through a path where they believe they can be abused because a man in his abuse, maybe he did it intentionally, mostly unintentionally, but that abuse that you allow to linger gets spewed around the other individuals in your world. So we get stuck. So in this time, I thank you. And I want to also share in his vision, he brought the two of us together because he introduced us to one another.
So thank you.
Thank you all for what you all have done and what you.
He's a master of networking.
He is. He truly is.
So if anything else, I want to see you networking first, brother.
Amen.
And join him. He has a networking group that shows up on Thursdays.
That's right. Third Thursday of every month.
Cha-ching.
So now it's no cha-ching, and that's the thing. Membership is free.
It's a free.
Everything is free, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to grow a builder, broader, better network. Yes. No matter how good your network is, until you add somebody else to it, it's not as big as it could be. Yes. And that's the one thing we have to really think about is that networks, they don't add up. They multiply.
Yes.
Hey.
And because they multiply, your sphere of influence, your sphere of support grows. Yes. And so we don't want to do things by ourselves because all of us are definitely smarter than any of us. And so sometimes when we're struggling to do it all by ourselves, we got to realize that, you know, just like, you know, Moses had some help from Jethro. Yeah. He had help from his brother Aaron. And, you know, so we got to realize that we need to pull those Aarons and Jethros and others in our lives in order to grow that network so that we can do what God has called us to do.
Amen. So not only is membership free, but it has its privileges.
That's right. That's right. And we've seen some people find blessings in some of the connections that they've made during this past year. So we thank God for that.
Absolutely.
And let me just add to that another reason why this show is so important, because I was in a domestic violence relationship and didn't even know I was in one. So that's why I'm happy you guys are taking this time, because, you know, I'm sure you're going to share on some, or we're going to share on some of the signs,
we have
or possible
a similar
signs.
story. Because I walked the same walk.
Stories.
I did not know I was being used as well.
There you go. And that's why shows like this are very important to have, because there's a lot of women and men out there who do not even realize they're in that situation. Exactly. So, so the workshop that we had, as you said earlier, Time of Healing, I think it's very important that we take that time to heal, intentionally take that time out. But like Dr. Champion said earlier, some of us don't even want to acknowledge that we need to be healed. And going back to my situation, how can I acknowledge that I need to be healed when I don't even know I need to be healed from what I need to be healed from? Exactly. So I think you got to start right there at that root before you can heal it.
Amen.
Yes.
That is so true.
Dr. Champion.
No, and just to kind of follow up on that, and, you know, now, and I come from a counseling background similar to Sister Sessions' daughter, and the hardest part for African Americans is to seek help because they see it as a sign of weakness, and it actually is a sign of strength because in finding help, you find support. And when you find support, there's a growth opportunity. So sometimes we're either in denial or we're in avoidance. And neither one of them
can get you whole.
Get you where you need. That's right. They won't get you whole.
Get you whole.
That's so true. And that's the goal. Yes. That we got to be our best us so that we can do our best.
Yes.
And to piggyback on that, that's what we were doing in our workshop Saturday. If you don't have clarity about who you are, it is difficult for you to show up as you need to for yourself and for those around you. So we gave a lot of strategies on Saturday.
Oh, okay.
Well, you know better. You do better when you know better.
That's
right.
Amen. Let me just give some stats. In the United States, an average of 20 people experience intimate partner physical violence every minute. This equates to more than 10 million abuse victims annually. Also, 1 in 4 women and 1 in 9 men experience severe intimate partner physical violence. Intimate partner contact sexual violence and or intimate partner stalking with impacts such as injury, fearfulness, post-traumatic stress disorder, use of victim services, contraction of sexually transmitted diseases, etc. This commonly considered domestic violence. It's amazing because as you young ladies are sharing from the space of what has transpired in your story, and again, I'm God thankful that you're able to share it because of the transparency. Someone else is able to be healed. So we can start off with Mrs. Hood, with the type of abuse that you endured, that you spoke of earlier, that you didn't know that you were in, but it took some revelation and understanding.
So one of the type of abuse that I walk through is a very common abuse because of commonalities. In the workshop Saturday, I was sharing that part of understanding who you are is being clear about how you were raised in your environment. So I came from an environment that taught me how to protect myself physically. So I would not be physically abused. But in that environment also, I did not learn how to be clear about what emotional abuse is. And that's the relationship that I was in. I was stuck in an emotionally abusive relationship. When someone belittles who you are, when someone talks about you, and we get stuck, unfortunately, in this country still, where Black people are demonized. You don't get the opportunity to love the skin that you're in, even though others go out and want to mirror and color themselves to look like you. You don't get the opportunity to appreciate the magical nature of your hair because others feel that it's unkempt, not professional. So you have places in this day and age, and there was a picture that I saw on Facebook where a little girl, she was being teased because of her hair. I'm thankful that I see more people of color wearing their natural hair, but you are still put in a position where that doesn't feel right. That's not right, and you're talked about. So I was a little girl who was talked about because my hair is all over my head. I still have difficulty taming it. Thank God it's playing nice today.
In the rain.
In the rain. It's playing nice today. But because I was talked about, I wasn't dark enough. I wasn't light enough. We had a little bit of this discussion in the time I was here in the past. I didn't fit. So because I didn't fit, and I didn't fit emotionally, intelligently, so in the environment where I was learning, because I shared I had a speech impediment, I was learning to speak better. But then I was told in the environment that I was raised in, oh, you think you're better than everybody else. No, I'm just trying to speak English. So that's a problem.
On my enunciation and pronunciation.
So that's a problem. So in that environment where I was raised in and birthed in, that was emotional abuse. And because I was used to it when I was older and was in the relationship, I did not even recognize the name calling. I didn't recognize the silent treatment. And for me as an individual, sharing myself, we are in relation. Why would you put me out? Why would you shut me off from the emotional connection? That isolation, that's what they do to prisoners. You put them in solitary confinement. You can put someone in emotional solitary confinement.
Yes.
And so if you don't know what it looks like, you get stuck. And eventually you wonder, well, what's wrong with me? So when my ex-husband decided in all of his hot mess moments to continue to see how far he can push the envelope with his abuse, he did know he could not do it physically. That was the only thing I had a strategy for. But I felt less than with a college-educated degree from an illustrious university.
Amen. Kanye West. I'm sorry. That was a sneeze.
Whatever.
Somebody gonna say bless you?
Little hater.
Somebody gonna say bless you, Pastor?
No. Because I now know that is emotional abuse. No. I am safe and free from that moment.
Physician, heal thyself.
Yes. So let me pause.
Okay.
No, but to serious note, we just have to learn some strategies.
Yes.
And one of the things that France and I was doing on Saturday was teaching the tools of knowing you better, being clear about you better. Because the more you are clear about who you are, you will not allow yourself to allow others to cross over a path to make you feel less than.
Come on now.
Yeah, come on now. We get ready to go right to you. And at what point did you recognize your abuse?
Okay, so I'll just go back to when I was growing up, I wasn't affirmed or validated by my mother and my father. I don't think they knew that they had to, let alone knowing how to. So, in growing up, I was, one of two black girls in the classroom. I always was very insecure because I noticed, my skin was dark, my hair wasn't long and blonde, I didn't have blue eyes, and yeah, well, so they told me. So I've always felt like something was wrong, and I used to, cry out to God, like, why did you make me this way? Like, you messed up. Like, hello, you want to take me back and bring me back down here, blonde and blue-eyed or something? So, anyway, growing up, I did witness a few things in my household with how my father used to speak to my mother, but they never did it too much in front of us. But I did notice, as children, you hear things, right? So in growing up, again, I'm not validated, I'm not affirmed, I don't know who I am, I'm not comfortable in my skin, I don't like my skin, I don't like my name, I don't like the tone of my voice. There's nothing I like about myself. And here goes the first man to tell me how beautiful I was. I was always overlooked growing up by the boys. Finally, here comes this one man to say, you're beautiful, and that's all it took. It wasn't about character. I didn't know character back then. So it was all about the physical.
There it goes. Everything's out the window.
Yeah, everything's out the window. So, so at young teenage years, we started dating and, got into a relationship of which I didn't even know what a relationship was, right? So got into a relationship and then later on after college, broke up and got back together. And then in college, got back together. And I just noticed some things with the way he was talking to me. I would say verbal abuse, because there was cursing involved. It was forms of degrading, saying ill and nasty things about me. If I didn't, then it was control. If I didn't answer the phone when he called, he was upset. If I wasn't home when I said I was going to be home, he was upset. So manipulation was another. They would make you feel like no other man in this world is ever going to want you. So now you have to sit there and kind of bow down to him like, ooh, man of God, like, you love me, like, I can never find anyone else. So so for me, that was my experience. And it took me sitting in church. It's always those moments where you never think you're going to get that. They call it aha moments. But I was sitting in church and my pastor was preaching and he said this is all it took. He said, 4 years you crying over a Negro that you should have never been with. And for some reason, the light bulb went off in that moment. And I was like, oh, that's me. He's talking to me. And then I just started listening to the message more and more. I just started getting in my word more. Wow. I started attending Bible study more, praise more, just saturating myself in the word of God, because I needed to find out who I was. And what better place to go but the word of God to find out who you are, because that is your creator. He's the only one who can validate you. He authenticated you.
Fearfully and wonderfully made you.
And then also too, before you were formed in your mother's womb, he knew you. Come on now.
Dun dun.
Come on.
Dun dun.
So when I started hearing those truths, my mind was renewed. And once my mind was renewed, I became to transform into this image of who he originally created me to be. And I'm still becoming. But that's my story.
It just it seems like it's a canvas and how God erased it.
Oh, yes,
and he
did.
renewed the painting and made it better.
Oh, yes, he did.
Oh, wow. That's some good stuff there.
He did say and hit a masterpiece. I like that part.
Yes.
Masterpiece.
Masterpiece, yes.
Now back to you, Brian.
Well, and as you share, and I mean, I think this is really important as you share, because again, we start with our testimony, and those are the things that help us to put things in perspective. The problem is oftentimes when people live in their testimony, when they're unwilling to move out of the past. And that's why I thought your theme was so wonderful, because it dealt with the transition and moving away from your past. So we come to a moment in this present time where it is a time of healing. And so that's our call. That's something that we're declaring, and it becomes something that's very important for us, because this is my changing point. This is when I'm putting aside the past and moving to the future. So a time of healing is our transitional phrase. But one thing I just want to kind of go is because you shared with us your past. We recognize the transition and how now we're going to put aside the past. But you also said that during your workshop you gave some, lessons learned.
Some strategies.
On strategies. How, because see, the thing is, the reason many of us can't move beyond where we were is because we don't see what the future should be like.
Come on, somebody.
So people will tell you all day long, you need to get out of that.
Yes.
But what they never tell you is where you need to go, where that vision should be. And when women like yourselves are able to share that vision and share that you've come out of it and strategies for renewing yourself, it's just really important because now it gives people hope.
Right. I guess I would, at this point, as he introduces, reclaiming your time through the redemption. What does that redemption look like?
So, which one of us you like first?
You want to flip a coin? You're both ready. So it's like.
I mean, for me, it looks like wholeness. It looks like peace. It looks like walking in my authenticity, walking in my purpose. Understanding whose I am, understanding who I am, understanding that God created me on purpose for his purpose. It looks like me allowing the Lord to mold me and shape me. That was one of the strategies we talked about at the workshop. It's also forgiveness. You have to forgive your offender. You have to let that ball and chain go. You cannot drag it around everywhere you go.
Forgiving self.
Yeah, and that too.
That's one of the biggest things of, once we come out of our past, excuse me, we have to forgive ourselves for what we have allowed into our lives.
Yes.
And nobody mad but the devil.
Because this is truth right here.
We have to forgive ourselves out of the hurt, the shame, the guilt, and all of those painful places, and that the enemy beats us up in that corner to where we don't feel like we want to come out. Because the world looks at, look at this and look at that, and who do you think you are?
Yes.
But when God renews, He rebuilds and he reshapes and he refocuses and puts us in that place. So that forgiveness piece within yourself.
Yes, and we did. We hit on both forgiving others and forgiving yourself. Yes, we did.
Now back to you, Tanya.
So here's another part that we did. We wanted people to be clear about who they are. We did that. But the other part of it is the practical piece. And I wrote about this also in my book in chapter 4. So in chapter 4, I talk about patterns. You cannot make a change if you do not pay attention to what's happening in your present. And what I had to do, and
hold on. Say that one more again for the listening audience.
Lord, what did I just say?
That's what happened when
you're flowing.
So you cannot make a change if you do not understand what's happening in your present.
Yes.
What I end up doing, one of the pieces that helped me get a little more clarity, that helped me break free. We went through a test in the workshop, and in the particular test that we went through, I was sharing how one of my ways of getting better is operating in my natural gifting. I'm a natural administrator. We shared my contract. At 14, I was writing contracts. I analyze, I plan, I strategize. That's part of my natural gifting. Some of the things that we have to be clear about in who we are is getting clear about really who we are, because we go into hiding. I hid my gifting in that relationship because he was uncomfortable.
Right.
And because I hid my gifting, I did not go through what I would have normally walked through that would have redeemed me sooner. So I eventually caught the clue and started watching the patterns. I repeated 3 years in my marriage. It was on repeat. By the time year 7 showed up, I wrote down everything I thought would happen in a year. I went January through December, wrote down what comments he would make about me, wrote down what action he would take against me, wrote down what would occur in my life next, and I looked at the pattern. And I saw that it was an actual pattern because I had been living it. The first 3 years I lived it. The second set of 3 years, it was beginning to, deja vu. No, it was stupidity vu.
Stupidiology. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. I don't have the ology thing going on. That's what you invested.
Okay.
But when I finally came to a clarity of operating in who I naturally am and got out of hiding, I began to get a path. you get clues in abuse.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't pay attention to the patterns of what that looks like, you cannot get out of it.
Yes.
And unfortunately, if you fail to learn those lessons in one element of your life, God will, in His loving care, allow you to repeat until you catch a clue.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, I want to buy a vowel so I can solve that. Because it becomes hard.
It becomes
And
more
even as-
difficult, and you get more entrenched.
Yes.
And then you feel there's no way out, so you don't even bother looking for the patterns.
Stuck in the rut. I read, what's that? Stuck in that, a stick in the mud, and not able to get past it.
Exactly.
But you talk about that type of behavior because the cycles. And birds of a feather flock together. And so, and you continue, but that's been the pattern. That's been the pathology of that. You've been continuing to go through that and deal with that over and over, and you begin to expect it, and you feel comfortable in it.
And if you don't get clarity, you repeat the cycle. So in chapter 4, I talk about a gentleman that I met up in my divorce state before marrying my love husband. So my husband's in the audience, y'all.
Shout out to Brotherhood.
And y'all may remember him. He was here a few weeks ago for a Men Make a Difference conversation.
Indeed.
So he's been a guest on the show as well.
So before he and I got together, I was doing the dating thing. So I ran into an old friend and we started to date. But because I had already learned the lessons and got more clarity about who I am, I started paying attention when he started showing some cycles. I saw his patterns. My first clue was at a party.
Yeah.
So you watch the people that the individual hangs around with. They may, I share in the book, everybody puts on their best coat. You have on your best whenever you show up in an environment. But when you hang out with your friends, they don't know you've been putting on a front this whole time. So you see how they act. If that's how they act and there's comfort in that behavior, that behavior also exists in them. So pay attention to those clues.
Yeah. You were able to discern past the personality because the first person that you meet when you meet an individual is the personality, is the representative.
The representative.
The
That's
representative of that person. So and that person can really smooth you over. So definitely, but through your gifting and discernment and your experience, you're able to hone right through a lot of that and get right down to the core of the behavior.
Right. So I did not stay in that relationship long because I learned the strategy of paying attention to the patterns.
Okay. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
We just have a few. Of course, Vanessa Hughes Kennedy. Forgive yourself and love yourself.
Yes, that was one of the strategies. Love yourself. Yes.
And she also concurs, yes, pay attention to the
strategies
patterns.
It's in the book.
And Brother Eric Elliott, folk tend to embrace the devil they know, then cozy up to a new one.
That's a true statement right there. Hey.
That just sent chills up my spine right there, Doc. Yeah, that's on fire right there.
Lord.
So, with 9 minutes to go, I want to talk about the redemption. I want to talk about redeeming the time and how God has allowed you to redeem the time. How faithful has God been? Starting with you, Sister France.
Sure.
Tag team, you it. Go ahead.
Well, I must say, I'm still, again, like I mentioned before, I'm still becoming. But during this time of redemption, I mean, God's been so faithful. He's been so good. And sometimes I have to tell myself, you know what, friends, He was just waiting for your yes. He was just waiting on you. And although some of the things I went through were very painful and they were very hurtful, but I'm just thankful that He is our ultimate healer, and He does heal, and He does redeem. So He's done so much for me. As my sister stated earlier, the purpose that was in me, the gifts and talents God gave me, I could not birth those gifts and birth those things because He was jealous, He was envious. And we know what's behind all that anyway. So now it's like, with the ministry, Edify Your Sister, the movement the Lord's given me, published my first book in June. I have a second one coming out next month, Lost You, Found Me. And he's just been doing.
Can we just take a plug right there, and can you tell us about Lost You Found Me?
Sure. So it's a fictional novel. It's called Lost You Found Me, and it's a story about a young girl named Rachel who is on her quest to find love. And through her story, she makes a lot of heart choices over head choices. So you just got to follow along. I don't want to give away too much, but in the title, I mean, it says "Lost You Found Me," so that kind of gives a little bit away. But I just want to encourage women and men out there that very thing that you think is the filler to that hole, to that void, you think it's that person, and it's not. The only thing that could fill your void is the Lord Jesus Christ himself. That's it. So you just follow along in her story to see how God redeemed her in that story.
Amen. If you abide in me, my word abide in you. Come on, somebody. That's the center right there, that centerpiece. But oftentimes in relationships, we lose ourselves for other people. We even dumb ourselves down for other people to make them feel comfortable. You know, I mean, but sometimes you can be abusive with your wit. So, you know, we have to watch those types of things. So, but we lose ourselves for other people to make them feel comfortable, but it also gives them a false sense of power over us. And then we settle down and we begin to beat ourselves down. And then that's what we forgive ourselves for the dumbing ourselves down and giving ourselves permission to dumb ourselves down.
So that's a great transition to my thoughts, because I chose to give my power away to a man that did not love me enough to edify, show me, and give me. I went into hiding with the gifts and skills and talents that God gave me. But here's the wonderful thing about God. In the beginning, since we're in that session, in Genesis, when Adam and Eve went into hiding, God asked Adam, "Where are you?" It wasn't that all the glory that God poured into Adam and intended for him to have dominion over his space was lost. And God did not ask that question because he did not know where Adam was. God asked that question to remind Adam of who he is. Because all that I have created you is in you, and I needed birth. And when you decide to come out of hiding, it's there. I wrote a book that I did not intend to write. I shared that before. But my gifting and talents and skills and the stuff that I hid are birthed and brought out. They weren't lost. Although I was made to believe, and when I was in hiding, that they're still redeemed.
Now back to you, Brian.
Well, you know, and one thing I want to, hopefully we got enough time to allow the two of you to do justice to this. One of the things I think about, and oftentimes when we talk about emotional abuse and we think about it in a male-female relationship and whatever, and acknowledging that emotional abuse takes place in so many other forms. You know, mothers do it to their daughters sometimes. Children do it to their parents. You know, I see things in the mall, and I'm thinking to myself, I never would allow my child to make me feel that way. And so as we look at it, and as both of you being mothers and of sons, how are you addressing some of what you see in hopes that you're going to raise young men that will understand how to treat individuals in a way where they're not putting them through that emotional abuse?
So, well, I can start a little bit because you can read it further. In chapter 7 is my redemption point. And in chapter 7, I shared that I had to get out of the relationship that I was in because I did not want my sons to grow up to be those types of men where they felt it was okay. But it began with, as a woman, I had to honor me and expect respect of myself, for myself, so that my sons will see I can't treat a woman like that because I wouldn't want my mother treated like that. They lived through some of that abuse. The youngest one doesn't remember, but the oldest child did remember. And as he's gotten older, he's had to go back and check some things he's told me. But what he does appreciate that he remembers more is the struggle that I went through to get my degree, because I took both of my kids when I was working 2 jobs to 2 different schools to get my degree, and they remember sitting in the back of the classroom, sleeping on the floor lots of times in the computer lab so I can do what I needed to do. So they saw the struggle, they saw the journey, and unfortunately, too many people try to hide. They don't need to be exposed to a lot of stuff. They do not. Mm-hmm. But you do need to let them see that you are growing through the struggle so that they recognize, I need to appreciate this person better.
Yes. Yes. I mean, for me, it's pretty much more so just lessons. And like you were saying, if you're walking through a mall and you see something, I just try to grab every opportunity or seize every opportunity that I can to teach him. So whether it's something on the television, something we're seeing in the mall, or maybe something during service he hears, that's pretty much what I do is just kind of say, okay, what do you think about this? I mean, the good thing is me and my son, we have a close relationship. He'll come home and share things with me that's going on. He's in high school now. So even some of the stories that happen in school, I'm able to teach from them too, as to the interactions between the boys and the girls.
That's good.
Well, I know we're about to come to a closing moment, so I just want to, before turning back to Dr. Green, thank the two of you all for joining us today. And I just want to say to those of you who this hour did not do enough, but you can find these two ladies all over social media. Tanya Hood at Tanya Hood Productions, and I think it's TanyaEHood.com. And also Sister Franz Neptune at EdifyYourSister.com. So y'all look them up. They're on Facebook, they're on
Instagram,
Facebook, and all those things.
Twitter.
So hey, you don't have to just wait till they come back here. You can catch them. You can have them come to your church. You can have them come to your city, and whatever the case may be, because these are two sisters that bring power. And so we just thank you both for sharing your time with us today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for coming out of hiding.
Thank you.
Because if not, the world would not have known the gifts and talents that you have.
That's right. Thank you.
Keep on showing up.
Yes.
Thank you for showing up. Many women need to hear and know that testimony.
Amen.
Thank you for your transparency. And Sister Franz, you are a blessing. Don't stop writing. Don't stop writing. Keep writing. Continue to put the pen to the paper.
Thank you.
Amen. I just want to give you a closing moment, and then afterwards, Sister Franz, and then I'll close us out.
Okay. Well, closing moments. One, continue to do what's being shown on this platform. Be there for one another. As men and women, we were designed to be complementary towards one another, because the gifts that my brothers bring enhance the gifts that God has given me, so that the world can receive the best of who we are.
And I will just add to know your worth. Don't let anybody try to discount your worth in this world, because let me tell you something, the Lord himself created you, but you have to know that without a shadow of a doubt. You have to know that you know that you know that you know.
Amen. Amen. Ladies and gentlemen, wow. And this hour did not do us justice, not at all. Our time is up, unfortunately, and we thank you for yours. We thank you for tuning in. And please remember to like and share and like. And we definitely, again, thank you for tuning in to us. So remember, when good men and women stand together, we become greater. We are our brothers and sisters' keeper, and see you on the other side of greatness. God bless you.
My brothers keep a show, I gotta let them know. Tuesday, 7 p.m., gotta let them know. 3 M's, mint and model, gotta multiply. God gets all the glory, hands in the sky. My brothers keep a show, I gotta let them know. Tuesday, 7 p.m., gotta let them know. 3 M's, mint and model, gotta multiply. God gets all the glory, hands in the sky. My brothers keep a show. Introduce the host. My brothers keep a show. Introduce the host. That's the Dr. Michael Green.